it like playing the prince in Cinderella?
It was a joy every day. It's kind of like you're in a fairy tale. It felt like that. We built the sets, you know. You're in these amazing costumes with kind of people at the top of their game around you. It was magical.
He has such more depth than, you know, obviously the original cartoon where Prince just kind of comes and stands there and dances and falls and that's it, really. Like, was it kind of cool for you to be your own character and, you know, kind of truly be a man and not really just do what your father says, but have your own?
That's what, you know, in the original animation there's only 2 or 3 scenes that you get with the prince. You don't even get to know his name in it. So in this version we kind of got to flesh out and make a character that's a son first and foremost. I think that was important, especially with Cinderella. You see her as a daughter, and I think it was important to see him as a son, and also to see him as a soldier, and see him as a friend, and all these different elements to pull into him to kind of make him real. And I think it's important, especially with Cinderella in this film, to have created a character that's worthy of her affections back. I think that, you know, slightly outdated, old-fashioned view of, you know, a woman with a terrible life who needs a man to come and rescue her from that doesn't work anymore, and it's not actually a great message to be passing on to children. And in this version, it's totally different to that. You've got a young man and a young woman, and they're bringing out the best in each other, and that's a kind of much more relevant message, I think.
Lily brought up the first scene that you guys filmed together with the horses, and she gave her perspective, but I'd love to hear yours and how you're feeling and what you were thinking, what was going through your head.
Well, terror, because it's the first day on set, and it's the first scene you're doing, and, you know, as an actor you're always kind of worried. I'm always worried until I've shot 50% of the picture, because after 50%, it's too expensive to recast you and reshoot it all. But up until that point, anything can happen. So especially in the first day, you're like, oh God, I'm going to get fired, this is terrible, I can't do it right. But there's so many parallels on that first day. I mean, Lily couldn't ride before we started filming. So there's that element of me trying to calm Lily's horse and help her with that, just like the prince does in the scene. And we've got all these kind of nervous emotions, and we don't know each other. We've not worked together yet, and you've kind of got all these parallels happening, which kind of feed into the scene actually and help us a lot.
Did working on Game of Thrones help you prepare for this role?
For the fencing and the horse riding, yeah, it really did. And also, you know, just kind of character-wise, to play a young man that's got a lot of responsibility that he didn't ask for. You know, that's something that Rob Stark had to live with, and I think the Prince, you know, has to live with too. So there were some parallels, but you know, it was nice to be in something where I wasn't, you know, worried about everyone killing my family all the time. It was better.
So I'd asked Lily about the dance sequence, and she had mentioned that, you know, once you guys got into the moment on the set with the dress, that you basically had to skate around her, and I know there was a lot of rehearsal. Did you have dance background before this film?
And I stupidly dodged out of all those classes at drama school going, I'm not going to need to use this dance stuff, I'm not going to be dancing. And then kind of went, oh God. And I had to train kind of 3 or 4 days a week for about 2.5 months before they'd even let me near Cinderella's dress.
Oh wow.
Because I would have destroyed it. But you know, I'm not a naturally gifted dancer, but I think the Prince would be, and I think he would enjoy it, unlike me. And most importantly, I wanted to just be able to focus on my acting with Lily on the day and that relationship, rather than thinking about my feet or trying to not stand in her dress. But no, it was my least favourite.
Okay.
But on the day it was great. You know, it was a joy on the day. But yeah, the training, I'll not be jumping to take another role with dancing anytime soon.
Okay.
Richard, aside from your special relationship with Lily, there are so many great moments with you and Derek Jacobi, and you and the Prince and the father. You know, can you talk a little bit about that and what it was like to work with him?
I love Derek to pieces. I mean, he's such an amazing actor. But as soon as we met, we got on really well, and I'd never met him before, and that kind of fed into the scenes because we could improvise together. And I wanted to bring out this sense of humour in the Prince, and luckily Derek played a king with a really good sense of humour, and I think that's where he gets it from. And so when you see them together, I think that's what's so wonderful, is their kind of similarities. And you know, when I'm doing scenes with Derek, it's really not very hard to tell the truth when you're looking in the eye of an actor like Derek, who's giving you everything, and he's just really inspiring to be around. Yeah, I just wish we had more to do.
You also got to work with Stellan Skarsgård, and I know that he's worked with the director before. Was there kind of a feeling like they're a family now, and I have to get into that on the set, or
no,
was
I felt like I was brought into the family.
Okay.
It was really interesting because Ken's worked with so many of the people in the film before, so he has these dialogues with all these different people, and you can see him and Stellan have a dialogue straight away. It was really interesting watching. Okay, that's how they interact with each other. Okay, what's my relationship with Stellan and Ken? But you know, I loved Stellan, and I really loved his way of acting. We really got on, and we played with each other. You know, when the camera's not on, you changing the lines and messing things up and trying different things out. Stellan's very free, and that kind of really gives me a confidence to be free on set too.
Well, Kenneth is being an actor as well as kind of an actor's director. So was that very liberating to be able to just kind of do Kit as you felt you wanted to, or was there a lot of direction?
No, yeah, lots of direction, lots of good discussion. But I think most importantly, what's good about Ken being an actor, I suppose, was he understood, for me, this is like my first big film, and it's a character that a lot of people already have a preconception about. So that's kind of terrifying. You put those two things together and put it into like a, you know, multi-million-dollar film set, and you know that really doesn't help the old anxiety factor. But Ken instilled a confidence in me. I think because he understood the pressure that comes with that, and that was really great for me because it allows me to be as creative as possible and get the best out of the day, because I know he understands exactly what I'm going through.
Back to you working with Disney, Richard. You know, what was it like to make this film with Disney, and do you have any special connections to Disney that you remember as a child?
As a child, I remember all the films. I've got two sisters, so we watched these movies like on repeat. I remember all the songs, and love them. And it's a bit surreal to be the prince in Cinderella, especially growing up with these films. But it's just really refreshing to be part of this story when we're taken into like a modern telling, and changing that old-fashioned perception, and I'm part of that, and that feels really special. I mean, when I was a kid, the first times you learn about love and death, grief, joy, good, bad, is these Disney films. That's where I was introduced to these things in the first place. So for me to be part of this, which will be doing that to young people, is really, yeah, I feel honoured to be part of that.
Any one song that comes to mind?
Any of Aladdin's songs, Street Rat, the Magic Carpet song. I could go on.
Now that you can cross fairy tale adaptation off your list, is there something that you really want to sink your teeth into as far as a role, either in film and television?
I'm dying to get back on the stage, which I'm looking forward to doing with Ken and Lily in 2016. We're doing Romeo and Juliet on the West End in London, because we all got on so well, which is great. I'm a big sci-fi geek, so I'd quite like to do something on a spaceship at some point. Nice to not be in period costume for a minute. I just finished a film with Idris Elba called Bastille Day, where I got to wear jeans and t-shirt every day. It's great. I kind of got hours of my life back. Otherwise I'd be in costume. And it was really good to play someone that doesn't have a good moral compass, and doesn't care about other people. That was really kind of exciting. I just want to keep mixing things up, and I'm looking forward to getting back to doing some stage stuff, and hopefully eventually something on a spaceship.
When will you go into rehearsals for Romeo and Juliet?
Springtime 2016. Yeah, so about a year from now. About a year to prep.
Do you have any funny memories from set that come to mind? Any funny moments?
Funny moments. I mean, the whole thing's quite funny. It's just kind of surreal. It's kind of you know, sitting having a chat with Cinderella, and she's got this massive dress on, and you can't really fit or squeeze into things, and you know, you're kind of paranoid about how you look, and Cinderella can't eat anything because her corset's so tight. So you know, it was a kind of surreal experience, all of it. I think my best memory is my mum and dad came to set, and when we were shooting the ballroom sequence stuff, and I waltzed with my mum around that big dance floor, and I think that's like my best memory. I remember that forever.
Richard, the costumes, gorgeous. The dress, of course, spectacular.
It's gorgeous.
I want one. This old
No,
lady
you
wants
don't.
one. But of course, you were dashing, stunning. How was it to have to wear the?
It was,
the
you know, that's something with Sandy Pearl, who's such a stunning costume designer, but that's what we discussed when I first met with her to work out what I was going to wear in this film. And I really wanted to retain a masculinity to this prince. I think a lot of these Disney princes, you see them in their outfits and they can be foppish or a bit wet. And I really didn't want the prince to be like that. And so we worked together with Sandy to try and make something that is regal and decadent and intricate and beautiful, but also masculine, which wasn't what I first thought when I walked in and saw my white jacket for the ballroom, which has got sequins and glitter on it. That's like, Sandy, we talked about this. But actually, you know, when you put it on and you put yourself into that amazing set with all the other dancers and extras, and it does actually, it is masculine. And the good thing about Sandy's costumes are they're all, you know, practical first and foremost. Although they look like very beautiful and style over substance, I actually know the trousers and the boots I wear are great for riding. You know, that first green jacket I wear is great the way it sits. It does that for the horse so that it doesn't bunch up on me and I can move around in it. You know, and the sword belts, they're all practical. So I think that's what it was rooted in, was like, you know, that's why Sandy's so good. It was rooted in practicality, but we had these great discussions to try and maintain a masculinity, and I think we managed to do that with it.
yes, you did.
Richard, what about the plot twist towards the end of the movie and when you sort of reveal yourself on the horse? You know, were you expecting that in the script? I mean,
I don't know if I was expecting it. I think, well, I can't really tell because now obviously he's in my head, and of course he would do that. And I really like doing that, but that all stems from the end of that scene where he's asked the Grand Duke to go and find Cinderella. And, I mean, it's such a flash, you can hardly see it in the film. But just as the Grand Duke's going, the king at that point, the prince turns into the king, he turns to the captain and just kind of goes, like, go with him. You know, don't let him out of your sight. And so he knows already, and I think that's what's quite smart about him. He knows what's going on. And he's not the kind of guy to sit in his castle and wait for it to happen. You know, he's going to do everything he can to find us all.
Did you do all your own writing and
All of it, yeah, I did everything. I love riding, so I kind of, when I trained for this, I was kind of got into dressage and jumping, which was great. I mean, it's like, I'm very lucky that this is my job. All right.
Anybody else?
Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you.
thank you, Richard.
Congratulations.